Now, there's two ways that I can start facilitating with a model, a symbolic model. I can, and I want Dodge to think about which way he would like to think about this. You can either look at that object and talk as yourself, address this object, or another way you might do it is to become the object and speak from the perspective of the object, as in, I am this, I am that. So Dodge, which way would you like to begin thinking about your object? As yourself speaking, or would you like to become the object and talk from the object's perspective? Oh, could you use voice? It would be great. We can all hear you, I think. That would be probably easier than typing.
Can people hear me?
Yes, you sound great.
Here's me.
Yes, yes. And if you'd like to speak as the object, you can just say, I am this, or you can speak as yourself. Which would you,
I'm going to speak as myself. I
okay.
Can't relate to that well.
Okay, great.
I'm kind of the green cube in the middle. And it would be better if I could have this object rotating around me, because it seems I'm just being surrounded by information coming in. Some of it dark information. You see the black panel there. A lot of the news and stuff, it disturbs me. And there's things that I find are dark and disturbing. Some of it is interesting and light, and you can see the yellow. Something that makes me laugh and smile. Photos on Facebook, sometimes from friends. Comments I get from people. Some of it's just interesting, like the red stuff. A lot of, what's going on in education, how friends are doing things. But it's not funny. It's not making me laugh. But it's informative. And then the green stuff. I'm a biologist. I work in plant ecology, and I do a lot of information with that. So I have a lot of plant information coming into me. And so I'm surrounded by different types of information from different sources. And if this was twirling, it would actually give it more how I feel about things, because what's in front of me at any one time depends on what's flying into me. And the red is more neutral. It's not funny. It's not disturbing. The green is more professional stuff. The black is just disturbing stuff that pops in, and then the yellow is this fun stuff that's coming in, makes me smile. And so I'm getting a bit of all of that coming in at me. And I'm in the middle of this, and this twirls around me constantly. My cell phone is constantly dinging as something comes in as an email or a text message or a Facebook message or whatever popping into me all day long. So, and we put some sound with this, have this twirling around and going ding, ding, ding as all this information's coming in. And that's kind of how I feel about it. That's just kind of my experience with this multimedia overload that's popping into me.
I heard you say, I hear you say a lot of words that stood out. When you said you have dark disturbing, the black, and light, the yellow, the interesting, the fun. And, as I saw the kind of two opposites there, and I love that you said you'd like it to rotate and turn and add sound. Of course, it'd be cool if you have time. I mean, you did this really quickly, but that really gives us an idea of what was going through your mind here. This opposite of dark and light, and the green. You had a personal and a professional question there with the science, and that was a great way for you to make it personal, your own metaliteracy. So I was wondering if you would like to address kind of how these different colors relate to each other. Would you like to pick maybe one in how it relates to another one of the colors?
Well, that's an interesting question. I tend to silo these things, which is kind of fun that way, but it's interesting that I do silo those. the darks and the dark side. And that's when I'm looking at maybe Google News or something like that. I try to look at the pandemic in our county every night before I go to bed. How many people have come down with that? That's all on that dark side. But I try to think the interaction. I guess the interaction of it would be more with the professional stuff and the just interesting stuff. Sometimes they interact a bit. Usually the fun stuff, the yellow, is totally unrelated to anything else there. It's just friends sending me information or photos or stuff like that, or sharing something they found that was funny on Facebook or something. I actually don't think they interact that much. They're kind of siloed in my head. These different multimedia things coming in, they come in constantly. So I guess my brain shuffles them around into the different silos and doesn't interact. But it's interesting to think about it. Yeah.
Yes, it's just fascinating when you put it into a model to think about how our world has changed with information. You haven't mentioned a lot about the red. Would you like to kind of look at the red and see if the red has anything to say to you?
Well, the red is it's not dark and it's not funny. It's just information coming in. It could be, from an advertisement that is kind of useful, or information from how to do something. That kind of stuff that's coming in, or just something from a friend, but it's not a funny thing. It's just something about what's going on in their life, or a vacation they're hoping to. We have some friends that text me yesterday. They hope to come visit us and stuff. It's interesting. It wasn't fun yet, but it's interesting, that they want to do this, and then how we can plan, and some back and forth on that. So the red is probably, most of it is in the red, really. It's just a lot of stuff coming in that I don't need to deal with. It doesn't bother me, and it's not funny. I'm on several boards, and I get a lot of information from these boards. Just stuff of what's going on, stuff we're supposed to know, stuff preparing for the next board meeting and stuff like that. And that's just kind of all on this red. Probably the majority. Probably should have made the red huge and the other ones smaller, if they were going to put it into how the amount of information coming in.
You mentioned that the black, you used the term disturbing when you did the black. I wonder if the black had a voice, what the black might say.
Oh, there's so much disturbing news right now. Yeah, I'm not sure what the black would be saying, except that we're going into some very serious bad times, I think, and I worry about that. Things that the black can cause you not to sleep at night if you get too focused on it. So it's one of those things that is there, and I see it, and it comes into me. It's popping in, but I try not to get too concerned about it, because otherwise it's hard. It's stuff you can't really deal with personally. You can't change it, but it's disturbing.
I wonder what the green's role is here, because it seems to be sort of the core, the center. It makes me wonder, what's the green's role in your experience?
The green is me. So all this stuff is flowing into that cube, and that cube's got to sort it and make some sense out of it and get some comfort level with it. And I'm surrounded by this stuff. It's just constantly rotating and popping in, and my phone's dinging away. And so it's, there would be almost connections, like spider webs between that green and the panels rotating around it as things are flying into me, and then basically dealing with that, sorting it, and making some sense out of it all.
Is there anything else you'd like to add about how you felt, about this experience of pulling objects out to represent metaliteracy? Anything else you want to add?
I had no idea I was going to be doing this until about 10 minutes ago, so I haven't put a lot of thought into it, but it was interesting to kind of think, how would I represent all this information that's coming into me in a simple way that I'm not a great builder, in a simple way, so that we could put this together and see how this thing represents how it comes in and how I feel about it, this information. the type of information I'm receiving. So in a very quick few minutes, I had to think about this. It was kind of fun to think, how would I put this together?
Right. You just heard about it this morning. And that's one thing that's powerful about symbolic modeling. It's very in the moment. You don't really have, you just do how you're feeling right then. So in a way, it's good not to have a lot of prep time, but you can also go back to these models. And you had mentioned that, having sound or having a rotation, or I am hoping that at some point I can put some symbolic metaliteracy um, models in our library to show people the many ways that we look at literacy. And it sounds like you got something out of it. And thank you so much for volunteering at the spur of the moment.
It was fun.